Well, it's 9:02, so we'll call this this meeting of the Commissioners Court for a workshop on the today is the 30th, June the 30th at 9 o'clock. So we'll stand for the prayer and pledge.
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I just come to you, thank you, Lord, for all you do for us. Lord, I just ask you just to be with us now as we go into this workshop. Just give us the wisdom that we need to take care of the county business. And Lord, we just thank you for all you do for us. I ask you just to be with our servicemen and watch over and take care of them, bring them on safely to us. Our first responders also. Just go with us now and give them more faith in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Well, I've had several meetings after our two budget meetings with Ms. Nanette. She's got an overview here we're going to just go down, and there's 13 of them, and we'll just kind of go down. If y'all got any questions, we can certainly stop, and if there's anything that y'all got a question on that, we can discuss whether we want to put it back in or take it out, or what we want to do with that. So we'll just start with number one there, Ms. Nanette, and work our way down.
You want me to run it?
Yeah.
Okay, basically the first one is all requested items were reviewed. I went through the whole workshop and I pulled them into a consensus. Everybody should have a report by department. I did the report by department. If the request is not listed, it was not under consideration when I met with the judge. So there were things that people regularly request that was determined that we weren't going to consider them this year. All employee departments got a 6% increase for their insurance. That is what we were told by TAC that we needed to prepare for. So those increases were made. All of you have a payroll scale that shows the scale in each of the departments. There were two positions for various reasons. Last year, they were under scale. One position is in 403. It is a criminal deputy. That position is under scale right now, and I would like for it to be considered only because it is a criminal deputy, and due to the changing in the staff there, it's gotten out of sync with the other criminal deputies in the county. And you can look at the scale and see that the requested budget for that this year will put it in scale. That does not determine a raise for an employee. That determines a budget line item if the person is performing and if the elected official makes the decision to enhance that salary. That is between that department. It just fell behind. Remember, last year we did a true-up of salaries related to the SB 22. The second position, these are the lowest position in the county, because that position had not been filled a year. When we did the true-up last year, we didn't do any true-ups on positions that were less than a year. It was just one of the criteria we used. Therefore, that position now has completed 1 year of employment, and so the budget is just putting in for next year the opportunity for the elected official to raise that salary if they so choose to. But the budget should run that way in case a position is vacated in someone. So it puts all of the entry-level tax assessor clerks at the same rate. And the reason that one was under is because that position had not been filled for a year, and we were doing that pretty quick last year.
Melissa, that'll be in your 403. That'll come out of your R&M.
499.
So it is put into...
That's 403. Leslie's 403. The R&M.
499.
And 499 will be Melissa, sir.
It comes out of yours, but that was not budgeted the year before. You didn't hire that position.
Correct. I didn't, she wasn't here for that time frame when we did it.
Yes. So I just want to make the budget be where if the elected official chooses that that person's been here over a year and deems it wants to pay them the same amount of all the other clerks, they have the opportunity to do that, and it's in the budget. Okay, then the next line item is 409. Judge Cooper may want to speak of this, about the facade and the need to fill the facade. We normally budget around a $1 million contingency. Last year we did 1.5 because we had the roof at the jail and it had not yet been completed and we didn't know the timeline on that. We were able to pay for some of that roof before the end of last year, so it enabled us to be able to save some of those funds. We didn't have to spend that whole 5 so far this year. So that increases to 1.7. Do you want to speak on the facade, sir?
We've got the facade back, and when she says the facade, that's across the street there, the annex, or however you want to say it is. So that's what that is. The bid come in, it's going to be very lot higher. That's not all that's going to be in that contingency. There's a few other things that could be coming up this year that I want to have that so that we're not having to go back and get it all out of that. With that being said, I think that we can still come in below that. This is the reason that we're not going to have a deficit budget this year, is because of the facade coming in. Last year we was unable to make that. We could have stayed within our budget because of the roof, the $1 million roof that we had to put on the sheriff's department over there. So with that being said, I do feel like and I hope that we don't use near that on the facade, and we won't know that for sure until we get the bids and all back. But that is from the drawings and all that we have started. We have some of that already paid for, and we had some of it already set aside for that across the street. So that's why the increase there.
Yeah, and we also are budgeting $782,000 for the facade itself, which was an increase of $500. We had anticipated about a $220,000 project. We've been working on this. The county has for like well over a year to put the numbers together. So we are taking out the $600,000 that we had for the roof, and we're moving that to the facade basically. So we're only going to be saving about $216,000 in Department 410. Those savings will incur from projects that are being completed this year, and they won't have the same amount budgeted next year. I would like, if Precinct 3, do you know the status of the Talco roads? Do you think they're going to utilize their funds this year?
All they do is they're doing covering the roads, not asking us to help them. The coal mix and just cheap escalating and everything. So until they get it done, they're on the still working.
So my understanding is we're carrying forward the material money that we have in 410 until it is extinguished, or is there until they finish a project and then what's left over?
Well, I'll be with them and see what all these lights over there.
Just to kind of get an estimate of how much of this we're going to spend, so we would know. That would be a savings we could put towards the facade or some of the other projects we have. And the other, we took out the $15,000 that we had in 410 that we were budgeting for fire department things. That money has now moved to 581. So that's why you're seeing some increase in our EMC department, is basically because we just moved it from where we were budgeting it. Okay, in 503, we have the increases in the contracts in that department. Our computer manager cost went up $8,000. We also we have not been paying for our email services with K-Pro now for a few years. They just didn't bill us for it. And so it sounds like a lot of money, but they have added on to that a $22,000 addition to the email. So the email is like $10,000, and $22,500 is a cybersecurity platform that will enhance us. And when I went to conference last time, we were told it's not if you get hit by cybersecurity, it's when you get hit by cybersecurity. So one of the parameters that we need to have in place here at the county in order for our cybersecurity insurance to support us is certain types of infrastructure security on the in and out transactions of the county. Also, the sheriff had requested a new software. Their book-in software they're using is not working. I know that y'all heard him speak at the time of the workshop, and in order to change that software, it's going to be about $216,752. Well, we already have in our budget a $51,000 software item for that software for the sheriff. So we're not going to increase the budget, the total amount. We're going to only be increasing by $165 to $20.
Also, there might
and
be
then the
some type of
maintenance
refund on
agreement.
that as well.
I believe that right now we have a credit with them, and we have not worked through the last bill because the software is not working. And I'm going to get with Sheriff Bragg and to get with the Net Data or SI, the company that's doing it, and say, you know, why are we paying for something that's not working? To see if, like the judge said, to get some kind of refund. We have general increases in water and electric. We had an increase in the VFD insurance that we covered. They told me to budget at least a 10% increase on that. We pay for their vehicle insurance as part of our agreement with the VFDs, and so that number is increasing in the budget as well. The other thing is that for many years here, we've had a security fund of which we collect fees in. Whenever we have cases in the various courts, there is a fee structure that feeds our Security Fund 16. That fund is not going to be able to continue to fund the Newman contract for our security. So that's why you're seeing that increase in the security cameras and contracts, is because we moved that. And I also increased it 5% because he's been doing about a 5% increase a year. Now remember, the security piece that he does for the jail is budgeted through the jail. This security is the court security, okay? The other item is in 515, and that was standard utilities and repairs and maintenance. We were seeing some trending. You know, as our way station and as our extension office and our buildings get older and older, you can ask Monica, our elevator system. It's been nonstop this year with repairs and expenses and replacing coolant systems and heating systems. So I thought it was a good idea to just put a little bit of extra money in those areas so we don't have to keep coming back to the court whenever we have those expenses that we weren't aware of this year. So we're going to be moving around we had an additional expense setting up the EMC. If you see the $36,000, we're not going to have that expense this year, so that's going to come out. The capital outlay, as it goes in and out for the trucks with the VFD, it just kind of comes in and out there. And then the other big item that we were looking at is the sheriff's department, and the sheriff requested several things for his department, and we did remove the tasers and we removed the cell phones for the deputies. But the handheld radios, and I don't know if some of you saw what happened just over the weekend in various situations, that if we don't have the radio system, as the judge was reviewing for our, it's an expensive, but it's very, very needed for our deputies when they're in situations. Did you want to speak on that, Judge Cooper?
Yes, I spoke with Chris, and like I said, the last 2 years, he's kind of got hit hard with having to redo the roof, and then with this. But if we sit here, and I know that's quite a bit of money to add into that budget for those radios, but when they go into Chapel Hill, Harts Bluff, and those schools, they have no more communications left. And if, God forbid, we have one of those bad tragedies happen, and we're not communicating with those people, then I think it looks back on us. And like I said, I understand it's a lot of money, but I think we've got to take care of our officers in that situation so that we can communicate. And we pray that we never have to use them in that situation, but if we do, we don't want to be sitting there and not have been prepared for the job at hand. It could go bad if we've got the radios, but it could go really bad if we don't have the radios without any communications. So that's why I did leave that part in there. I did take the tasers out, which is $86,000. We did remove that, and the cell phones. But if we've got those computers and stuff in their cars with the iPad so that they can do all that paperwork, and those radios, yes, it's a big hit this year, but it puts us ahead of the game, and I feel like our communications is key with our people out there for them to be able to communicate with the city of Mount Pleasant if they need to be. Like I said, we had a little bit of a tragedy there at CC's. Everybody could work well together, but if that would have been inside a big building like one of the schools and we couldn't have communicated, then all our communication is shut down. So therefore, yes, I know it's a huge expense, but I don't feel that we can go without that. And so that's why I left it in and took the other two out with the tasers.
Thank you, sir. Okay, the other item, which is somewhat different, we all know that the environmental department has kind of been changed a lot this year. So Judge Cooper has requested that I take the expenditures out of environmental and I move specific pieces to the EMC. And so the inspection oversight, he's wanting me to budget $2,000 for that. And for a CNA officer, the $6,000 that was in that, to move that and to do about $1,000 expense line for environmental within there. Now remember that the EMC department is the oversight, management, and operation of that department is under the judge. Those peripheral departments that have appointed positions in them, they fall under his guidance. So it was a place to put expenses for environmental, so if there were some that came up, we had a line item for it, and also any kind of stipends that the court deems is necessary to facilitate environmental. It needed to be budgeted in an area. So to put it in EMC, of which the judge has oversight and approval of, just seemed to be like an appropriate place. And if the judge wants to speak on that one, you can.
We talked on that in our workshop budgeted meetings with Miss Dana, and she'd been doing some of the paperwork and stuff. Once we got to looking into things, we cannot give an elected official that stipend money. We can give it to an employee, but you can't give it to a stipend. We've also got that the same deal with Brother Duncan, the constable. He's supposed to get me a report on how many nuisances he's done and stuff, and we're going to have to figure out something with that. I don't know when Ray's was done. His is $11,000 for transporting, and we've got to look into that. I understand we did it. We didn't know it was wrong, so we got to correct what we've done wrong. If they did in the past, we can't just always go by the past. And just like I said, with some of the other things that we've had to talk about in the last few days with some sickness and some things, just because they did it in the past don't make it the right way to do it. We've got to do it the right way so that we're not liable for it. So with that being said, that's why I moved that over there. If Dana does need some help with that, we'll move it into the EMC or something. We'll talk about that, but we just move that money there so in case we do need it, then we've got some options to move with.
Yeah, the determinations are how the judge is planning to use the funds is not defined, but in reviewing, and I'll just bring up you learn as you go in these jobs, and recently we got the bill, I think it's 293 or 273 they passed, which for 10 years our court system had not been given any supplement increases for 10, I mean, it's been a long time. And so they finally passed a bill to do those supplements. Well, those supplements come into effect in September. So when you're reviewing how do you increase a supplement during a year with an elected official when you have the, so when in reviewing that, we realized that maybe with Constable Duncan, we probably need to revisit that. So that's what brought that up. It just came out of the blue when we were looking at the other items. But we are happy that the state has decided to supplement some of our judiciary positions, and it's always beneficial to the county when you get supplements and you're able to do things and not have to use the county budget for it. So that's the reason why we were looking at that and making those observations. The other item is our 4-H, as you guys saw when those kids came in here this year.
We skipped over there. The total on that, with us having the environmental agent
I'm sorry,
stuff,
sir.
was around 92,000, 91 and some change there. So that has come out of our budget. If we do have to go back, something happens with the way we're doing things now, we'd have to bring that money back in and create another position again. But we have taken that out. Sorry.
No, that's good. You caught it and I didn't. That when you do a reduction on a budget, you want to make note
I want
of that.
everybody to know when we do a reduction. I get hollered about raises and
We
things of
moved
that
less
nature,
than
but-
$10,000 to service the environmental department. We've got a savings of 91. That's a really good offset to that. Getting back to the mileage increase for the extension office, as I was stating, as we see with our youth here, they're very active in their programs. We've seen them come to court, and in order for the 4-H, there's a lot of traveling with those those showings of the animals and things like that, and they went over this year, and instead of having them have to monitor that next year, there was an increase of $1,500 more for them to have, and it's mostly to go and travel with the 4-H kids to these events and things. So
Kelly
I think it's well
has done an exceptional job, and I know that I'm not the only one that's gotten phone calls, but I've gotten phone calls from all across the county, from every precinct, matter of fact, stating what a great job Kelly does and how she works with the kids. We're very lucky to have Kelly here. She does an amazing job, and this just clears it up so that they're not having to come and beg for their mileage to carry our kids up and down the road and represent Titus County. And she's gone to Houston and won some shows down there. So she's not just spending money, she's out working with our kids and increasing their knowledge. And I think she's a great leader to have there, and glad we've got her and don't want to lose her over her mileage. So.
The last thing on here, the only increase that we did with the road and bridge departments, because, well, the total of general county, it's an $862,000, 248 increase in the budget from last year. Okay, now that's budgeted funds. We often budget, and sometimes projects don't clear out. There's funds that are changed during the time, but you have to budget your expenditures at the time of the proposed budget. And I'll give you an example. We're going to budget the software for the Sheriff's Department. If it could get changed, it could happen this time. We're in the first stages of that. But we still have to have it in the budget. And if it, but that doesn't always mean that's going to be the cost. That's just what we're anticipating the cost to be. So you may have an up or a down on that. Some of them, as a budget is an estimate. The other thing is when I talk to the judge, normally anytime road and bridge incurs some type of a indirect cost, it's not related to the actual roads, it's related more to the staffing of the departments, the county will offset. So I do have a note in there that you're going to have right around a $4,000 increase due to your increase in insurance. And so we will increase the tax apportionment by $4,000. For you next year when I do the budget too, to offset that expense. So you'll still be with the same amount of expenditure as you had last year. depending on the tax rate and how that comes in the end, we always revisit that when we get closer to the known funds. And, you know, if the rate comes in good and our revenue source is more, then it could be different, but that's what we're giving that to Road and Bridge to offset that, no matter what the numbers are, I guess. Wouldn't you say, Judge Cooper?
Yes, and like I said, we're not going to take away from y'all's road materials because our insurance is going up. Hopefully, once we do get those numbers back from the tax office over there may be some flexibility there to move a little bit of money into those as far as materials go.
With the offsets that you're saying and the revenue, this increase of $862,000, what do you anticipate? Do you think we're going to have enough revenue coming in that we don't have to mess with the tax rate?
It depends on the decision of the court. I met with each of the commissioners and went over what the estimate was and what our estimated revenues were based on the no new revenue and the voter rate. I mean, those are the numbers. They trended down last year, not up. So that's a baseline. So I would say that in totality, no. I'm looking at it right now, but you don't know till after the 25th of July. But on the top end, if it depends on what rate you vote with. Am I correct, Judge?
Right, the voter approval rate or the no new revenue rate. With a voter approval rate, which they've already approved, would be real close to that number there.
Okay, is there any other questions?
Insurance has been, the last couple of years, we had an increase in insurance.
Right.
We've been into I think our employees really like the insurance that we got now. Going forward, every year, you got a raise, it took away the money, insurance we raised every year. It was never like it was the last 2 years. It was about no more change. I just think we have good insurance.
And we don't know for sure. A lot of you, because you budget, we've been about 2% over baseline insurance in some of the departments, not all of them that had the new employees. We just budgeted what we needed. So there was a little bit of extra in there to move to for the unknown, because we never know from year to year what our percentages are going to be. So we kind of just leave that in there. I feel like, a lot of times you don't know till we end this year and we see where our fund balance is, and we have a strong fund balance.
25th, we're just picking at numbers until we get the July 25th number, and that's what we discussed last year. I talked with a judge over at Cass County. Theirs is going up between 10 and 12% on their insurance. Not picking on their people. Our people, we hadn't had as many claims, but a lot of them don't have a provider, physician provider over there listed for them, so they don't have an annual physical or anything of that nature. They're most likely going to go to that, where you have to have a provider, primary provider, and then have a physical once a year to try to bring some of those rates down, because their rates have gone so high over there. It's across the state. It's not just us. We've been very fortunate. The 3 years I've been here, this is the first year that we've had an increase in our insurance. And like I said, with the money the way it is, I'm hoping the sales and stuff start climbing back up in the next year, so that we're not in the same situation. Hopefully we can get some raises, some things of that nature. But with the way it is right now, the numbers, there's just no way to get around it.
I think the county did really good last year. I think that a lot of people at the county should realize that we did a salary assessment, and we did baseline increases to salaries, and then we also gave a raise on top of those salaries. And I think comparative to other counties and to other positions, that we are very comparable right now. This was actually a better year to get an increase in insurance, because we were in a position to where we could utilize that as our investment into our employment pool and not having to do a full across-the-board raise.
Like I said, and Nanette said it, once the SB 22 money came in, we did an evaluation and moved some salaries up and got everybody kind of on the same playing field before raises last year. So yes, you're not getting raises this year to your people, but most everybody got a increase and then got a raise on top of that last year. And so with that being said, I understand I like to give everybody a raise every year, but if the money's not there, it's not there. But I think we did take good care of our employees. The 3 years that I've been here, they have got increases. Last year, they not only got an increase, but then they got a raise as well. So hopefully we can, if we keep our employees, it's better for us to keep employees than it is to retrain employees. So we want their benefits and things to be good for Titus County. We don't want them leaving Titus County. We want them to stay here. But then again, it's the taxpayer dollar that we've got to look after and make sure that we're spending it appropriately as well.
One thing back to the insurance is what I'm hearing is that Christmas and Blue Cross Blue Shield are
Negotiations, but they're in I did talk to Christus this week, the lady from Christus over there that comes by all the time. She said there's not 100% guarantee of anything, Kent. She said it is negotiation, and so stay calm is what she said now. Whatever that means.
I can speak of that briefly myself because I have an appointment with Christus, and I was going to change it because I got the notification and the lady said, don't change your appointment. She said they do this often, and chances are by the time your appointment is up on the schedule, they'll probably have worked something out. So, hopefully it does work out.
One other thing that we need to have our eyes on, I know that y'all seen the press releases that the hospital could sell. Everybody, I've gotten several phone calls. That means our taxes go away. Not necessarily. That doesn't necessarily mean that your hospital tax goes away. The hospital tax goes away. Whoever does incur that or they become partners with, we need to sit down at the table with them because the county could be on the hook for that. So, yes, it may go away over here, but then you're going to have to pick it up on another tax over here. So, like I said, when I first come into office, everybody will get rid of the hospital, get rid of the hospital. And I said, well, you do realize just getting rid of the hospital don't get rid of your hospital taxes. And so, like I said, we want to be very informed on that. We want our people to be informed on that, and we will be meeting with the hospital board and those so that we know some answers. And I don't know those answers, but I'm digging in to find out those answers for us, guys.
Yeah, I think it'll affect the county, but as for us, when you have a hospital district, it helps you with your indigent health care. You have to have a whole system set up for approvals, and it affects the jail medical care too. So it is definitely something, Judge, that it's good you're on top of.
Anybody else got any questions about the insurance or anything? Like I said, any of those things that we have moved over there, we'll be voting on that once we get the tax rate and all from the chief appraisers over there. This is not set in stone. This is not nothing that we're voting on today. This is what I've tried to do to keep it. It is a little bit of a deficit on our budget this year, but not a huge one. And like I said, we got what we've got. We got left the buildings that we've got left behind. The jail should be in great shape now. We've got air conditioners around here fixed, so we're making some improvements, and so we're getting ahead of the game, and hopefully the next 2 years we'll be way ahead of the game.
Yeah, I will budget based on this criteria that I currently have and that everybody has a consensus on. The proposed budget will be prepared and presented in court on August the 11th. That's when it's actually voted on and the rates voted on. So nothing is stone in the budget until then. So any questions, concerns, changes, if I get something from somebody that says increase, decrease, I will be sharing that information with the judge, and everybody will get, a chance to look at the budget before we vote on it on the 11th, to have input into that as I'm working on it.
Like I told everybody when they came to the workshop, this is this is where Santa Claus, and tell us what you want, and doesn't mean we're going to get everything we want for Christmas, but until those numbers come out on July the 25th, and me and Annette had a discussion about this last year, and they came in a little lower. So I'm not setting in stone on anything until we get those final numbers. Preliminary numbers are great and can make you smile, and then they can make you cry again when July 25th comes around. So once we get those numbers, then we'll be setting this and headed to the final budget hearing. No other questions? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Got a motion made by Commissioner Applewhite to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Parchman. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? That'll carry unanimously. I got everybody to vote.